Alright, welcome to this week's Tekken Tech Talk. If you're new here, this is where we talk about Tekken Tech. The way it works is Russian over there asks a question. Might be a question from the community that one of you guys have submitted. It might also be a question that has been burning his mind for eons. But they're typically seemingly simple questions with complex answers. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment down below if I forget anything, or if you have a question that you would like answered. It helps, guy might give us ideas to talk about in the future. So anyways, Russian, what is your question?
I was wanting to know, how do you play the small game?
Ooh, the small game. That is a very interesting question. So with the small game, the idea of the small game is the idea of the small game is to use fast pokes to frustrate your opponent into making a mistake. So what a fast poke is. So generally things like jabs, like generic down fours, generic down forward ones. It tends to be like in the 10 to 15 frame range, and they tend to be relatively safe on block. So generally, like your highs and your mids, you want to be, no worse than like -4 on block, because you want to be able to move afterwards. If you're -5 or more, you can get locked into place with a jab. So the idea is you frustrate your opponent by using small pokes and movement to frustrate them into making a mistake. So you can do, like, one way of doing it is you can spend a lot of time up here jabbing like this, and then when they try to retaliate, you sidestep and punish them for trying to retaliate. Right? So that's the basic premise of the small game. So in order to effectively do the small game, you're going to have to know what your moves are. So does your character have like a generic down forward one? Some characters like Claudio don't have a generic down forward one. They have to use like their back four, I think is what it is, that little knee, 13 frame knee. But since that one is significantly worse on block than a generic down forward one, I think it's like -6 or 7. He's got the extension follow-up to kind of deter people from trying to press afterward. So just because you don't have something like a generic down forward one or generic down four that you would typically use for the small game, a lot of characters do have moves that can fill those roles. They just might have other considerations that you have to deal with. Another thing that you can try, that you can do in the small game, if your character has fast counter hit moves, like if I'm doing like a jab into down forward one a lot, so if he blocks the jab, I'm +1, so he can jab interrupt the down forward 2, or down forward 1, so you can jab interrupt that, right? So you can jab into like a magic 4 after you've trained him to interrupt that string, right? So you're training him to try and interrupt this by just doing this over and over again, or not necessarily over and over again, but
Not to be tight because of the latency.
yeah. But so then, like, after he's like learned to press there, that's when you change it up with a fast counter hit move. So that's one way you can use your fast pokes um, to open up your opponent. Other moves to look out for are like high crushing lows. Like a lot of characters have lows that will crouch, and those can be useful for getting under people's like jabs or jab strings. So if they're jabbing a lot, you can use your high crushing lows to get under their jabs. But like let's see, we talked about this also a little bit a couple episodes ago. When you are pressuring, you don't want to just constantly be in their face mashing buttons, because then they're gonna have your timing down, and that will make it easier for them to counter what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're mixing in movement, different hit levels, different attack timings, so you can you spend some time trying to sidestep around their quick pokes. Sidestep block is also good. Sometimes just like sitting here in their face for a few seconds and then throwing out like a magic 4. Because like if they don't know when you're going to attack, they can't do anything about it. Right? So make sure you vary up your timing, which way you're stepping, because all characters can have moves that track both ways. Force them to use something like a homing move or something to, if they think you're going to step, make them use a homing move so they don't, so because homing moves typically are slower than other moves that they would be using, like their down forward 1 or their high. So if you've got them needing to forcing them to use homing moves to keep you from stepping, that also opens up your ability to get your counter hits in. So if I'm doing like this, over and over again, and he starts using his homing moves, I can just magic 4 after I've set him up. Because if I'm always stepping like one way or the other, then he can just use a faster move that tracks that way. But Dragunov's got his 14 frame high homing move, which is pretty good. But a lot of characters don't have a homing move that fast. So trying to play the small game can be difficult because you often want to go for your bigger moves, like your launchers, or your big plus frame moves, and you can get to those moves if you've set them up. Because if you've gotten someone scared of pressing buttons, you've blocked them down enough and they're not doing their homing moves because they're afraid of counter hits, that's when you can start going for your bigger moves, and get your big plus frames. Because you've gotten them trained to not press and to be afraid of pressing. Also the down forward 2s or your fast launchers are also really good. Like, let's get out to the open a bit. Is like if you're jabbing and you get them to like try to check you with the down forward 1. So if you down forward 1, Dragunov's is tracks fairly well, but you know you can confirm the whiff and then launch him. So always be on the lookout for your opponent making a mistake and try to capitalize as much on it as possible. You know, some moves like jabs have really good whiff recovery, so you won't necessarily, like if he tries to do a single jab here, just a single jab after he blocks that, it's really hard to whiff the you know, confirm that and whiff punish it. If you know he's gonna do it, you can just like whip out your down forward too, but it's still pretty tight. I can't confirm that he's doing just a single jab. If I confirm by the time he's done the jab, it's too late. So sometimes if you've got a good read on your opponent, you can just whip out your launcher after a sidestep. But it's usually best to try and confirm whiffs and mistakes. Always be paying attention to their habits. Because a lot of times people have like mental flowcharts that they'll run through that they can that you can exploit if you pay attention and notice them doing a specific pattern over and over again. And also pay attention to if your opponent is exploiting your patterns. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, the opponent might pick up on that and will be able to punish you for that.
I'm trying to do it.
Right, but anyways, so that's the gist of the small game. Do you have any questions?
It was actually couldn't you use backdashing in small game as well?
Oh yeah, that is a good question. I did completely forget that. Yeah, because a lot of the faster moves have limited range. So like if I'm jabbing you and you try to jab back. Oh.
I have a long jab.
Oh, try to down forward one. You have a long down forward one. You see, I can, if you're spacing it right, you know, you can get like a fairly decent punish too. So, yeah, backdash is another option besides sidestepping. Yeah, I guess that falls into movement. All right. Any other questions?
No,
All right.
I think that's a pretty good one.
Well, thank you for joining us for this Tekken Tech Talk. You can find me at @the_silence on Twitter. You can find Russian over there at You're That Russian on Twitter. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know, if you have any burning questions that you want to know the answer to, you know, leave them down below, and we might get to them. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.